This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem. We have a main bus B undervolt. We've got a lot of thruster activity here.
Houston, we have a problem. 5 words that sent chills down millions of spines. But what you didn't know is that this iconic line almost got cut from the film entirely. Jim Lovell's actual dialogue was packed with technical jargon, and the writers worried a shortened version would feel empty. Director Ron Howard debated endlessly, but he kept it. And those 5 words became cinema immortality, capturing disaster and human resilience in a single breath. But here's the real shock. Filming Apollo 13 was just as dangerous as the actual mission. Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton weren't acting in front of green screens. They were thrown into NASA's KC-135, the infamous Vomit Comet, experiencing true zero gravity. Over 600 parabolic dives, each giving just 23 seconds of weightlessness before everything crashed back down. The actors weren't pretending to be nauseated. They were genuinely exhausted, vomiting mid-dive, struggling to maintain balance as their heads spun and stomachs rebelled. Ron Howard himself got so airsick he almost quit. Admitting the complete loss of control was terrifying. Tom Hanks took dedication to another level. He lost 30 pounds for the final scenes, living the role so completely that when Jim Lovell, the real Apollo 13 commander, saw him descend from the helicopter, gaunt and pale, he barely recognized him. Hanks looked even thinner than Lovell did after the actual mission. And speaking of Lovell, he appears in the film's final scene, standing on the USS Iwo Jima deck in his old uniform, quietly shaking hands with Tom Hanks. History meeting cinema. In one profound moment, NASA initially opposed the entire project, fearing it would highlight failure rather than triumph. But Howard convinced them this was a story about human skill and resourcefulness, gaining unprecedented access to actual training facilities and simulators. Ironically, what NASA feared would embarrass them became their most praised depiction. The production pushed every boundary. The water landing scene nearly drowned the actors when violent Pacific waves battered their shuttle mock-up. The hatch, jammed with Hanks, Bacon, and Paxton strapped inside. Hanks later admitted he feared drowning more than any other stunt in his career. Inside the meticulously recreated command modules, built identically to real Apollo spacecraft using original materials, the cramped quarters became unbearable. Heat from lights, minimal airflow, actors sweating profusely and gasping for breaks. But Howard refused to expand the set, arguing the discomfort mirrored what the astronauts truly suffered. Every detail was obsessively authentic. Gary Sinise spent weeks in NASA simulators preparing to play Ken Mattingly. Ed Harris wore a white vest handmade by the real Gene Kranz's wife, using the same fabric from the 1960s. Every beep, click, and static noise came from actual NASA recordings. The authenticity was so convincing that when Buzz Aldrin watched a private screening, he asked where the original footage came from. When told everything was recreated, he was stunned. Even a NASA staffer walked onto the mission control set and mistook it for the real building. Jim Lovell's original checklist from the mission later sold for nearly $400,000, but only after Congress passed a law confirming astronauts owned their artifacts. Apollo 13 isn't just a movie. It's a survival journey where reality and cinema became one. If you enjoyed uncovering these secrets, smash that like button, subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next deep dive into cinema's greatest untold stories.